You are in a webinar called How to Improve Member Experience. This is a data, AI, and member-centric approach. And if that is not the webinar you signed up for, you're in the wrong place, but we hope you stay. My name is Rebecca Razor, and I am the VP of Global Strategic Alliances here at Advanced Communities. And I'm joined today by Cassie Bartelme, who is a Senior Solutions Engineer for Salesforce, focusing on nonprofits. Cassie, would you like to introduce yourself?
Thank you so much, Rebecca. Yes, I am a senior solution engineer with the Salesforce team. I've been here about 3 years, but prior to that, I spent 20 years working in nonprofits. So I understand very much from that experience, and I've been a member of places, so I also understand that experience.
Absolutely. And I think over the last several months, over the last half a year, we have been hearing so much about Agentforce and AI and ChatGPT. And we have loads of experience in sort of the nonprofit space, the membership and association space. And what we're hearing from our customers and prospective customers is how do we leverage AI in our own organization? And we kind of had to put our thinking caps on here because it's not a straightforward use case. But as Cassie and I were talking about earlier today, um, using AI is not reinventing the wheel. It's simply making your job easier or getting you more accurate information in a quicker, more efficient way. And we wanted to talk a little bit about sort of the differences between different AI models that you're talking about, hearing about in the media right now, and sort of cut through the fluff, let you know how you might use this within your organization and show you some examples of how it might be used in your organization. So today, we know your time is valuable. We promise to keep this short. We're going to keep it super clear and hopefully genuinely useful. And the idea is that we will not have any jargon, no fluff, just real talk about how AI and Agentforce can help your association sort of engage with your constituents more effectively. So Cassie is going to help walk us through some bits here in a minute. But before we get started, Cassie, I just wanted to start with the obvious. Like AI is everywhere right now, and you can't open LinkedIn or attend a conference without hearing about how it's going to change everything. And honestly, that kind of hype can be overwhelming, especially if you're leading an association that's already stretched thin. So, do you have any thoughts about that?
Absolutely. Yes, I do. You're right. It's everywhere. What I would say is I would start with don't get overwhelmed. It is a tool in the toolbox, like everything else. And it's going to assist you with things you're already doing. It's going to help you be more efficient. It's going to help you be more effective. It's going to help you with your engagement. It's not a totally new thing that you need to invent. You're not adding to the plate. It's helping manage what's already on it.
Exactly. And I think too, it's confusing because most of what's out there is either really technical or it's too abstract. Like it's
Yep.
made for big corporations. It's not for mission-driven associations with limited resources. So I feel like we need to break this down and explain it like we would explain it to our moms. Um, so
Yes, I have
yeah,
explained it to my
yes.
parents many, many times. So, I
So
think with
what is Agent Force?
great question. So, Agent Force agents are the next wave of artificial intelligence. Um, what they do is they provide assistance by grounding their activity in your organization's knowledge, processes, security, all of those things, right? So a lot of people are like, oh, isn't that just a bot? It's back at no. It builds on what bots do. So if you've ever engaged with a bot on a website, it's a very specific script, right? It can do this, and it's very limited and it can't go anywhere and it very quickly sort of gets to the end of its script. With an agent, it doesn't have a script the same way. It has what we call prompts, which are things it can do. And what it does is keeps building on that and growing and anticipating, again, based on what it's done, based on what it knows about, and it can actually take action, right? It can, and we're going to see that later on. So that's the big difference there. It can actually do something.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think a key difference that I'm hearing a lot in conversations with customers is What's the difference between Agentforce and ChatGPT? Like ChatGPT can give you general answers, but Agentforce can say something like, here's what's true for your members, or here's what happened at your last event, because it's
So
AI, but it's grounded in your reality, your data that you have put into the system.
absolutely. And if one of your members is interacting with the agent, it knows their data. So it doesn't say generally what you should do. It says, Cassie, what this is what you should do because this is your example, right? Chat GPT, very wide open. It's going to be very general. This is going to be very specific to your organization. And I
Sure.
think
And it's
that's a key difference.
conversational.
Absolutely, right. You don't have to know code. You don't have to know the magic sequence of events in which to ask it something. It's very conversational, and that's really accessible, I think.
Sure. So, like a real life example of this means your staff can ask a plain language question like, which members haven't renewed yet? Or which
Correct.
school sent teams to our spring summit?
Yes,
And the agent responds instantly with actionable answers. So, there's no report building. You don't have to go hunting through spreadsheets.
correct. Correct. It can instantaneously gather all that, compute it, and give you a suggestion, which is great. And again, I want to say that right there, there's also the human layer of it. Okay. So this isn't just set and the agent's doing whatever it wants and you're not a part of it. You're still there's still a human using this tool.
Yes, it's you've got human interaction with a data model, and I just find it magic. We were joking on an internal call earlier today that we're exhausting our own Chat GPTs, and I just find it's kind of fun, to have conversations with Chat GPT and see where they go. But I think it's interesting to show the differences between Chat GPT and Agentforce because Chat GPT is pulling from the knowledge of all things, right? Any data
Right.
that it can pull from the internet, but
Yeah.
Agentforce will be pulling directly from your organization's data. So, and I think it's really important to note that members can use it too. So it's not just the
Right.
admins. It's not just the back office staff that can use
Yep. Absolutely.
Agentforce. The members can use it. So, like, someone can log into your portal at 10 o'clock at night and say, which courses are available next month, or how do
Mhm.
I apply for X grant? And then they don't have to wait for office hours or dig through 5 pages of your site to gather that information.
Absolutely. Because, it's best. Listen, we all know we have lots of organizational data, right? Our FAQs, our procedures, our, the actual membership data for individual, organizations or people to dig like, and I'm sure you've experienced this too. Like, I know I have this somewhere, right? And you start sorting through your start items or your shortcuts or your folders to be able to instantaneously find that. Oh my gosh, it just gives you so much more of your day back.
That's the magic, isn't it? It makes your data useful. It's like
Absolutely.
instant and intuitive, and you don't need to train your staff on another tool. And let's be honest, it's kind of nice to have a teammate that doesn't sleep and it never says, like, I'll get back to you on that.
Absolutely. And it has those guardrails that it's your stuff, right? That
Yes.
you're not like, I guess this is okay to do or say or whatever. No, this is your organization's stuff, right? And again,
Yeah.
Salesforce isn't taking that. Your data, your procedures, all of that stuff isn't ours. That's yours. That's yours. Um, so I love the like having the confidence that you can act knowing it's right.
Yes, exactly. Well, listen, I think that's a great transition. I would love to pass the mic over to you and
Okay,
let you tell us a little bit about Salesforce,
great.
um, how Agentforce came to be, and really what the best use cases are for Agentforce for our associations. And this is your forte, right? These are the kinds of folks that you talk to every day. These are the
Absolutely.
associations that you are familiar with. So, guys, we have an expert in the room in Cassie, and I'm just going to hand the mic over to her.
Love it. Thank you so much. So we can talk about this a little bit before we move this slide. Oh, we great. We'll go there. That's good. All good. Okay. So I do want to talk about sort of the current state of where we are. Okay. Because I think it's important to talk about where membership organizations want to be versus where we're struggling right now. All right. We want our membership experience both internally and externally to be easy, to be connected, to be have personalization, all of those things. We want it to be relevant. But what we see right now with membership organizations, we see a lot of siloed data, right? This isn't new. So we either have legacy systems or we're storing, we're using lots of systems to do the work that we do, right? So we have one thing for our events. We might have more than one platform for our events because our conference is different than our workshops, and our workshops are different than our meetings, right? So we have sort of siloed systems there. Maybe we're storing it, in a data warehouse. Maybe we have, a legacy system. So, but the member wants us to know all of that about them, right? But that's what we see right now. And again, this is not specific or new. We see that personalized communication is difficult because of that, right? So we want to know when we reach out to Rebecca, hey, Rebecca, thank you for joining us for that webinar last week. And your dues are due, right? It looks like we don't know who they are if that's not connected. So that personalized communication can seem either wrong or so impersonal that it doesn't really connect with them. And then importantly, that when we have our systems like this, it means the disengagement signals are missed. We're not seeing the flags to say, hey, these are, watch out. We see the breadcrumbs of this member being unlikely to renew or unlikely to be engaged. So that's important. So that's where we are. And now we can go to more. Thank you, Julia. I know you're there. Magic. We want to get to a place of being proactive, right? That we're not just being reactive to what's going on, because that's sort of the state of where we are a lot of the time. If we don't have that data helping us make intuitive, proactive decisions, we're saying, oh, Rebecca just contacted me because I had something wrong. Let me make that right. Or I'm going to guess that maybe these groups are not likely to renew, right? So it becomes anecdotal, it becomes reactionary, and that's not where we want to go. We want to be proactive and positive and really keeping our members engaged and excited about our organization. So how can Salesforce help us do that? Let's go one more. Great. So Salesforce is all about a connected member experience. Okay, so when an organization uses Salesforce to manage their members, it becomes a flexible, scalable, and unified platform to help you drive marketing, commerce, and your revenue operations. What does that mean? It means that we're going to have a single source of truth, and we can see a unified member profile. We're going to put our member at the center and be able to see all of that activity that makes up that person or that organization, that 360-degree view. So that means we can see the full member journey from acquisition to event attendance to your dues, all the way into your advocacy and participation. Because of that, we're going to be able to see personalization at scale. That's where we start seeing our automation and our AI come into play. What does this mean? It means that because we can see our member at the center, we're going to be able to automate and say, we should trigger an email that says, hey, we haven't seen you in a while, right? And again, we can set that and we can do that at scale. We don't have to hunt one by one and see, is Julia engaged? Send her. Is Cassie engaged? Send it. No, we're going to say we can automate that. And we can also start using that AI to start seeing that as well, to start seeing those signals of predicting who's not engaged, who can upgrade, right? Who can maybe start becoming a bigger advocate, maybe become part of our board or our champions for our members. That's where we start seeing that automation. And we're going to see some of that specifically with Agentforce, how we can start using that. We're going to see seamless membership and revenue management. Because we are on a connected platform with Salesforce, you're going to be able to use Salesforce platform to do more than just that, email or digital engagement with them. We're going to be able to manage their renewals and their commerce. Maybe you sell programs, maybe you sell event tickets, maybe you sell, products. All of that can be done on one platform. We can start getting rid of those siloed systems and again, make those connections. And then again, use that automation, use that AI to drive those things, right, at scale. So again, it's all connected. It's, you'll see you see that continuous, Salesforce always talks about being unified, deeply unified, but again, where it's all about driving scale and personalization. Lastly, because it's the Salesforce platform, we can tap into our ecosystem. If you've ever been to a Salesforce event, we always talk about how we are stronger because of our ecosystem. Right now, I'm here with Salesforce and I am with a member or a part of our ecosystem with advanced communities, right? So Salesforce can extend its platform going back to, again, what does your membership organization need to do? Do we need to tap into partners and ISVs like advanced communities to do things like our portals, our events, some of our e-commerce, if that's what you need to do, right? So that's all about what Salesforce is doing. We're putting, it starts with this unified, integrated platform. And so, oop, there we go. Once we have that unified data, so here's our big formula, okay? This is it. This is it. You're about to get the secret sauce. Unified data plus AI equals impact. That's it, right? You're like, well, that was pretty easy, Cassie. I can't believe I had to sit through 20 minutes already. Great, you're here. We want to unify that data, right? That's gonna reduce our resources by, again, not having to manually connect things. AI, we're going to start seeing with the use of AI as a tool. Okay, again, this isn't a thing unto itself. It's a tool like anything else. It's going to help with, we are seeing reporting, our organizations, companies are reporting 79% reduction of cost in being able to use AI to drive the work that they're doing. That's real numbers, right? Like that's a really big number. And we're going to see, I'm going to give you some examples. I promise some tangible examples in one more slide. But that's where we gain the ability to drive our impact. All right. That's always what mission organizations are all about, right? We're all about driving impact. So when we start introducing things like AI and automation, we're start getting 2 or more hours a week. That sounds like 2 hours times how many people in your organization. That starts being head count, and you're really moving the needle. And you get to that list of, oh, we always wanted to get to this list of things we wanted to do, to try, to grow. This is where you can start moving the needle because you're sort of mad. You get the magic of time, right? That's a invaluable resource. So what does this look like? Let's talk about some specific examples of where we're seeing AI in organizations. So we're going to go, okay, so here we go. Here's some tangible examples. I told you that agents were the latest wave of AI. All right, it did not start with agents at Salesforce. We've actually been in this game 10 plus years. And if you do some research, you'll see that Salesforce has been on the forefront of artificial intelligence for years and years and years. And I want to demystify, again, AI is a category. All right. One of the categories within it is predictive. So it's going to use the data to predict something about your organization, your members in this case. So in this case, we can start predicting things like subject lines that are going to perform well in your engagement. We're going to predict the likeliness to become a member, right? Again, I'm not going to read all of these to you, I promise. That would be really painful if I read every single box to you. But again, it's predicting based on your data. So what is the most likely to be, what is the most likely criteria that your members meet to come to an event? That might be different than a peer organization or a different organization, right? So it's going to predict based on your data what is true to your members, your organizations. Then we see things like predicting the likelihood to renew or not to renew, right? It's just it just isn't as important. Or it can start serving up what's a good next best action, right? To drive this person or this organization to be more engaged, to become more of an advocate for your organization. That's predictive, right? It starts, and Salesforce has been doing predictive AI for a long time. You might all already be using this in your Salesforce instance. Then we start getting into generative, right? So now it's going to start creating something to use, right? So this can create content about your programs or your events or your activities. It can start creating membership use cases, help you even with creating digital ads, creating, again, subject lines or, campaigns that you want to use. You see all of these use cases here. So those are, again, start getting the wheels turning of like, how can we use AI? These are things you're already doing, but how can you use this as an extra set of hands to do that work? And lastly,
That's
go ahead,
Could
Rebecca.
I just ask you one question about the slide?
Sure.
Um, as you're talking, I think what a lot of my organizations don't realize is the level of data that they need to have in their CRM in order
Yeah.
to predict or generate
Yeah.
this information. So, can you talk a little bit about the importance of data hygiene? Um,
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. Thank you for bringing that up. Right. So all of this only, the formula we saw before, it starts with the data, right? This isn't magic. It's not making it up. We do need to be feeding the AI data to make good predictions, to generate the right things that you want to predict. So you absolutely have to have a data integrity, or however you want to call that, like process. Um, and if you're not, that is where you need to start. So if you're getting questioned at your organization, how do we use AI? How do we use AI? You have to say, do we have a data strategy? Do we know where all of our data is? Do we understand the data we have? I have definitely been at an organization where people have handed me something that was created many moons ago. And they're like, do you need this? And I said, I don't know. I don't know what this means. Right. So that's not going to help me at all. So if you don't know what the data is or what it was telling you, it's not going to help you in any way. So get to understand your data, get to know where your data is, start thinking about, do we have a lot of duplicates? Do we have to, is historic data relevant? Right? Were we a different organization? So understanding your data and having a data strategy is super important. And that's not a one-time thing. That's an ongoing process you should have in place at your organization.
It is absolutely. And I would also say, like, don't be embarrassed about it either.
Oh
We've got
no.
folks coming to us being like, sorry, we've been on spreadsheets for 20 years. Listen, AC, Advanced Communities, was at New York World Tour last week, Agentforce World Tour, and we were using an outdated spreadsheet trying to find contacts in our
Mhm.
system that was 2 or 3 years old, and it was not updated. Like, and you just have to be okay with that. It's
Yeah.
and
Oh,
and the idea is like you put in the data you have. It might not all be correct, but you will learn and grow, and it will modify over time, and
and
it will get
you
there.
don't know what you don't know, right? Start looking for your data. And I will also say there's often someone at your organization who does know what that data means. You're like, okay, I'm going to find Betty because Betty actually understands what this spreadsheet means. She can help us interpret it, which will help us drive these things like predictive and generative and even agents,
Exactly.
which is our
Thank you,
next
Cassie.
slide. So I know you're eager to see um, a demo. So again, I want to just start planting the seed of where you can start using agents. I like to think of agents as, where do I need an actual set of hands that's going to do something? So start looking at these use cases and think about this. So if we have an agent embedded on our website, it can start answering and helping our members or potential members, walk them through a, a process of joining, right? A joining process, or helping them with their renewal, right? Maybe just answering general questions. You might get a lot of, email inquiries all the time, or there are a lot people are logging cases, and someone has to then go follow up with all of those things. What if you had an agent helping you triage some of those things and acting? Oh, let me help you enroll. Maybe you want to come to this event. Did you think about buying this? So we start seeing those cross-selling and upgrade opportunities. They will know if there's discounting or pricing rules that they have to put in play. Maybe it's for specific time period. There's a special for the month of May. Well, your agent knows that. Great. You don't have to reconfigure that or reprogram that every time. You can sort of be like, oh, by the way, Mr. Agent, Mr. or Mrs. Agent, they, them, whatever you want. It knows those things and can help you with that extra set of hands. Again, about engagement. So making personalized recommendations. I just talked about it being embedded on a website. You could also have an agent embedded and answer SMS. You could have it in a portal. Maybe you already have your members using a portal. So start being like, where can we? Because again, we want this agent interacting on our behalf, or in partnership with us. Again, you can always set your agents rules to say, like, at a certain point, agent, thank you so much. We need to flip this over to a person. That's great. Well, maybe you help answer 60-70% of what needs to be done, and you're only using 30% of your time to do those really detailed things. So I hope that starts getting those are all I sort of talked about external uses of an agent, but this can also be used internally, side by side with your internal staff. Maybe again, you need someone to help you remember those pricing rules, or surfacing and making recommendations about what to do with this member. So again, you can sort of use this externally and internally to help you with your flow of work. I
That's a
think back to
perfect
that's going to
transition.
help you. I'm going to set you. We're going to see it in person now, right?
Yeah, that was a perfect transition. So, um, where I want to go here, I want to talk about sort of how Agentforce sits within your CRM. So, just a little bit of background on advanced communities and why we're here talking about this today. Advanced Communities has been an implementation partner in the Salesforce ecosystem for about 15 years now. And our implementations have been focused primarily on building portals, which of course lends itself really beautifully to associations. And the idea of being able to log in as a user, have something like a membership subscription, be able to see certain parts of the portal because of who you are as a member. So a good example of this is, and this is not what we're talking about today, but a good visual for this is thinking about a university and having a prospective student who would see events like um, open house days or campus tours versus a student who would see current student events, things like language clubs or honors programs. And then you also have the alumni who are logging in and, of course, can't see the open house tours or the French class, but they can see uh, alumni galas or fundraising events or volunteer opportunities. And all of these folks are joining into the same portal. They're all logging into the same portal, but they have different experiences. And so that is the sort of crux of what makes advanced communities a partner within the Salesforce ecosystem and how we leverage Salesforce and Experience Cloud to memberships and associations advantage. And with Agentforce, you want to start thinking about real use cases. So if you run an association, you've got members, you've got events, you've got other communications, marketing communications, you've got data spread across loads of systems. Agents can bring all of that together and then help you interact with it quickly. So some examples here would be our membership director here. So maybe our staff member wants to understand which members haven't attended an event in the last year. Maybe you're preparing for a board meeting and you say, give me a summary of our engagement with our corporate sponsors. Maybe you are curious about, um, maybe you're a member of the organization. So on the other side, on the external side, maybe you're a member and you are looking to start a dental practice in Texas, and you can ask the agent to pull content from a resource library or policy documents just by interacting with it and saying something like, hey, I'm a dentist. I'm interested in opening a practice in Texas. What are the processes that I might need to go through in order to make that happen? And the agent then can search articles within your own data and spit that information back out at you. So I'm going to switch into a demo now.
Okay, so imagine you are an admin at an association and you have a member on the phone who is curious about becoming more engaged with the association. So we have Miss Katie Johnson on the phone, and we're going to ask the agent to pull up Katie's engagement so far. So if we click on this cute little robot and we type in, provide a summary for Katie's email. The agent will think about it for just a second, and then we'll have a summary on Katie. So we can see that she's an active member. We can see when her membership activation started. We can see her email, and then we can also see her last login, donation amounts of all time, and how many events and job applications, etc. she has. Now, the one thing that stands out to me here is that she's only attended one event. And given that events are such great networking opportunities, I think it would actually be great for Katie to attend more events to be more engaged with the community. So I can say to Katie, hey, listen, we've got a bunch of upcoming events. Would you be interested in attending any of those? And Katie says, sure, tell me more. So if I ask the agent, show me all of the upcoming events, it will show me the career fair, the IT summit, the marketing vision event. And I can say to Katie, hey, listen, you mentioned that you were interested in maybe finding a new role. I think the career fair would be an excellent choice for you. So if we ask for the agent to sign Katie up for the event, we can say, can you please register Katie Johnson for the career fair? From here, it's going to ask us which package. So this event, the career fair, has multiple packages. Now, we'll just choose the standard package for Katie, and we'll hit submit. And from here, it says Katie has been successfully registered for the career fair. How else can I assist you? Now, because Katie is specifically asking if she could be more engaged with the community, I think maybe it would be good to understand her likelihood of retention. So I can ask the agent if it can give me some advice on how to improve Katie's member experience. And if I ask that, it pops out this article. So Katie can engage with more content. She can come to events, which is great. We've just registered her for one. She can work on professional development or have exclusive content and offers. So there's all of these different options. So now when I go to send a follow-up email to Katie thanking her for her time, I have a bunch of ideas that I can share with her to be more engaged with the community. All right, so secondarily, let's think about what it looks like to engage with an agent on the front end of a community. You can see here I'm logged into SmartMed. Now, this is an association where doctors and nurses and specialists can all come together and collaborate across the board. Now, maybe I am a member who's interested in growing my career through the association. So I can open up the little agent down here and I can say, hi, I'm a dentist in Texas, and I'm looking for advice on how to expand my career. And from here, the agent will think, and it'll say, here are a few ways you can use the portal to move forward. So we can find job opportunities or networking groups. We can also find events or a knowledge base. And it can say, could you specify the topic you're interested in and your location? And this will help me provide you with the most relevant information. So I can say, I'm interested in a knowledge base. I'm located in Texas. And from here, the agent will give me my resources. So it'll say, here's how to earn your Texas dental license. Here's what it's like to open a dental practice in Texas. We'll also have the events that are upcoming, so the career fair and a dentist network symposium, and we also have some job opportunities. So let's say we're interested in joining the dentist network symposium. So if that's the case, I can say, could you register me for the network symposium? And we'll let the agent think, and it says there are 3 packages that are available for the network symposium. We've got the standard price, a free package, and a career services price. So I'm just going to go with the free with donation package. And from here, it says I've been successfully registered. And I can find out more details about the event here. So remember, you can use hyperlinks, etc., to expand your experience here on Agentforce. Hope that was helpful. Please let us know if you have any questions.
I did want to open the floor up for some Q&A, however.
I think there was some questions in the chat. I'm going to go back and look at them.
Yeah, I'm going to pull those up too.
That works. So Simon asked, is there a threshold in terms of amount of data that an org should have benefit before it should have before they can benefit from Agentforce? No, there isn't. So you actually can start small and really start to see the impact and use case of Agentforce in your using Agentforce to assist you. So a lot of people have their FAQs or their processes and procedures or their sort of membership. Oftentimes we have like their membership criteria, all of that documented. So you can start with that, and that's what the agent can do. Because I also want to be clear, you get to set the parameters of what an agent can look at, what it can act and do. That also takes into account, if you are using Salesforce, it also takes into account like security and access, which is another really strong advantage of using Agentforce for Salesforce. So the answer is you have to have a minimal amount. I wouldn't recommend only having 2 records in your system, but it doesn't have to be, huge amounts of data for it to start seeing how you can use it.
Cool. And then we have a question from Mira. Can Agentforce navigate you to other screens to find relevant information, or is it processing to find on the screen you're on? That's a great question. So let me go back here into the agent. So you can see here that when we are looking for events, there is this career fair option. So if we click on the career fair, it can in fact navigate you to the correct page. So we'll give my Wi-Fi a chance to catch up here. Here we go, finally. So this has now taken us to the event landing page of the career fair, and then we're able to register directly from this page, or we can continue to use the agent to register. The interesting thing about the agent is that as you go through the registration process on screen, the agent will ask you these questions in order. So if you go to register, you notice that it was asking us about pricing. So instead of surfacing the pricing on a screen like this, it's just running it through the agent and giving you the option to choose between these different packages. And it will continue to ask those questions that you would naturally go through for a registration. But this is, again, using data that is pulling from MemberSmart objects within Salesforce. So this is a MemberSmart object in events. This is the event component of our MemberSmart product. So Agentforce is interacting with the components that we have that live and breathe on our Salesforce environment. So it's not just your standard Salesforce CRM, it's any app that you have installed into Salesforce as well. Agentforce can continue to pull from that data.
And external data too. So we didn't actually talk about that. We talked a lot about, we didn't start, Salesforce loves its all sorts of different things. So with Data Cloud, again, I'm not going to get too far in the weeds, but Data Cloud also, which is part of Agentforce, it allows us to tap into other systems or other, what's the word I'm looking for? Other buckets of data or even external sources. So that's something to think about as well. So it can work and connect with the data you have specifically in Salesforce or anything you connect through Data Cloud.
Absolutely. More questions.
And I should say, it's also internally, the example you just gave. So it can, when you were looking at the Advanced Communities app, right? And it was serving you up information, but it can either direct you to another place in Salesforce or draw information from any place. So externally or internally.
We have more Q&A. They're coming in on a couple of different platforms, guys, so be patient with us. We're saying, for this to be a cost-effective system, how many members do you recommend an organization have? That's probably a Cassie question.
The answer is, I think you have to look at the specific use case and determine where it adds value and gives you, adds efficiencies and reduces your time costs. We do have something called Salesforce Foundations, which is actually free to Salesforce or, customers, which can get you started. And actually is a great way for you to do a test case and sort of proof of concept. And I think that that's a really great way for you to see how much you need and how much it would cost you and also what you would gain. So I would absolutely encourage you to reach out and get more information about Salesforce Foundations to start seeing what will work for you. And I give the advice of, it's only costly if you're using it for something that you don't actually have a use case for.
Yes,
Right?
exactly.
You created it to create it, but it's not really giving you anything. That's where you would be most careful.
Yes, exactly. And then we have a question from Mira.
Yeah.
She said the agent disappeared when we moved it to the career fair registration. Did it open another tab so you can get back to the agent? The answer is yes. So it didn't necessarily disappear. It was left on the other page. So we were here on this page engaging with the agent. And then when we clicked the career fair
Mhm.
link, it popped us out over to a different tab. But if we go back to that um, Agentforce tab, the agent is still there and it still has all of your questions in the chat.
Mhm.
And then there's a question from Tina. I've quested prior, and for a small organization with 600 members, we've been quoted 10K. That is not my territory, and it might not even be Cassie's territory. We might have to pull in Salesforce account executive for that question, Tina.
Oh, it's for Salesforce, maybe? Maybe I answered the question based on Agentforce, but I'm not sure. The answer is we would have to know the use case, and
Yep.
we would absolutely want to talk to you about that. I can't tell you just based on members and member
Yeah,
details.
we're not salespeople. We're gonna have to pull in the right team here, but
Yeah.
happy to do that for you, Tina. And then I also saw a question in the Q&A from Eddie. So in reporting use case, I mentioned, how does Agentforce differentiate from Einstein? And is Agentforce set to eventually sunset Einstein?
Great question. Thank you. If you've been around the Salesforce ecosystem, which I'm sure you all have been, Salesforce loves to rename things. So I would say that Einstein is the general umbrella term that we use for all of our AI. So I think it's just it's not sunsetting it or going away. It's just sort of renaming it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Um, Tina says it's hard to get a clear quote. Yeah, Tina, I'm so sorry. I'm going to message you
Yeah.
privately outside of this. I'm more than happy to connect you with the right people and make sure that you're taken care of. I think I think this sounds like a not standard
Yeah.
situation. We don't normally hear this, so I'm more than happy to make sure that we can get you a quote. Um, all right, team. Are there any other questions? If so, feel free to speak up, pop them in the chat. Otherwise, we're happy to give you a few minutes of your day back. All right, team. I don't see any more, but before I let you go, please feel free to grab our contact information here. Obviously, there's some QR codes on the screen. And our incredible marketing team here at AC work together internally and with Salesforce to create an ebook called What Can AI Really Do for Your association? And you get that ebook for free because you've been here today. So um, please scan this. We'll also send you a link to grab it in the follow up. So check it out. Run it through ChatGPT for fun, let it give you the synopsis, and then let us know if we can help. Cassie and I are both available. Feel free to reach out to either or both of us, and we'd be happy to hop on a call.
Absolutely. Thank you all. That was really great.